My boss said I was like a daughter to him. Then I found the folder he kept about me. I met him on my first day. I was 22, fresh out of university, overdressed, nervous, trying too hard. He was the managing director. Everyone called him brilliant. I called him Sir by accident. He laughed, told me I reminded him of his daughter, said I had potential. That first week, he took time to show me how things worked. Not just systems or calendars, he taught me how to navigate office politics, how to present ideas without sounding too soft, how to speak in meetings so I'd be taken seriously. When I got promoted 9 months later, he congratulated me before anyone else, brought coffee to my desk, said, "Told you you'd go far." I believed him. Over time, he became my person at work. He noticed when I wasn't myself. If I looked tired, he'd tell me to take the afternoon. If I nailed a presentation, he'd make sure the entire floor knew. I told him things I didn't tell HR, things I didn't even tell friends, that I'd been ghosted by someone I thought I'd marry, that I had imposter syndrome so bad it made me sweat in meetings, that I sometimes felt like I was just copying confidence I didn't really have. He always said the right thing. Everyone starts like that. Men bluff half their career. You're already smarter than most people here, just quieter about it. I wanted to believe he meant it, so I let him in. He saw me struggle through a breakup and helped me request a schedule change. He saw me cry in a stairwell once, and he told me I didn't need to be perfect to be valuable. He offered career advice, LinkedIn help, gave me feedback on my resume, just in case. Someday I outgrew the place. He called me the best hire he ever made. Then came the conference. 3 years into the job, we flew out with a small team to attend a week-long seminar. He was giving a talk, I was managing our booth. On the second day, his laptop started freezing during a presentation. He cursed under his breath, waved me over, and asked if I could fix it while he handled questions. I took it, told him I'd update the software and give it back before his panel. I opened it on my hotel desk, clicked Update. While it loaded, I opened the browser to check our cloud calendar. His browser auto-logged into everything: Google Drive, work folders, bookmarks. I noticed a folder named eDev Keep. The naming struck me. eDev equals employee development? I clicked. Inside, there were multiple folders labeled by first names. Some names I recognized: junior employees, interns, assistants, and one folder labeled with just my initials. I clicked. At first, I thought it was a collection of feedback, maybe screenshots of projects I'd worked on. But the first thing I saw was a photo of me from 3 years ago, at my first company party. Not posed, just standing near the bar, laughing at something off camera. Then another in the office kitchen, reading something on my phone. Then another. Me with my jacket half on, looking distracted. Me on the subway. Me outside the office. None of these were from my social media. They weren't selfies. They weren't pictures I'd sent anyone. They were taken of me. Over the years, without me knowing, I kept scrolling. Screenshots of Slack messages, not just work ones I sent late at night venting about stress. A few labeled emotional tone, save. Another, a cropped image of my personal Instagram story from over a year ago. A blurry mirror photo I'd taken in my old apartment. Then an audio file just labeled January 17th voice memo M4A. I played it. It was me. Rambling, explaining why I was late to work. Apologizing, laughing nervously. He had saved it. Another file was a screen recording of my presentation. Not the one that was posted to the team, but a version recorded from a weird angle, like it had been screen captured from a Zoom call just to watch my face. One file stood out, a PDF. Subject notes, 2021 to 2023. It was 2 pages long, bullet points. Tends to apologize when unsure, then overcompensates. Makes eye contact when challenged, but voice softens. Possible submission response? Emotional peak equals post-breakup 2022. Increased openness, raw tone. Respects authority, but looks for mentorship, especially male validation. Father. Ideal loyalty level, high. Will not confront unless directly forced. Career goal, unclear. Marriage, wanted before 30. Triggers, disappointment, public rejection. Trusts me implicitly. I don't know how long I sat there. I didn't move, I didn't cry, I didn't speak. I just scrolled and understood. He didn't mentor me, he studied me. Everything I thought was intuition, him reading me, supporting me, knowing what I needed, was deliberate, calculated, memorized. He never cared about helping me grow. He wanted to keep me exactly where I was, open, raw, grateful. He didn't build me, he built a file about me. And I wasn't the only one. I didn't say anything when I returned his laptop. I didn't flinch. I didn't avoid eye contact. I smiled, said the update went through fine, and left the hotel ballroom like nothing happened. He thanked me, called me a lifesaver. I nodded and thought about the folder labeled "Trusts Me Implicitly." I didn't go back to my room right away. I sat in the lobby and stared at a wall for 20 minutes. People walked by, conversations blurred, none of it landed. I kept thinking about those bullet points, the way he broke me down like I was a case study, a subject, every compliment, every piece of advice, every moment he supported me. When it wasn't kindness, it was control. He wasn't watching me to help me grow. He was keeping me close enough to monitor, and I gave him everything. I handed it over. I called it mentorship. I called it safety. I wanted to react, to rip into him, to drag it all into the light. But that would have made it a story about my anger, my overreaction, my emotions. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want revenge. I wanted permanence. So I played the same game. I started smiling wider, asking for more feedback, leaning into his suggestions, inviting him to review my notes. He loved it. Said I was back on track. Said I seemed centered again. That I had leadership potential. That maybe I'd be a great candidate for a regional role next year. I thanked him. Wrote it all down. Then I started collecting. Not rumors, not drama, just patterns, facts, timestamps. I scheduled weekly one-on-one calls with him, requested by me, logged by calendar. I started recording them on my end. Legally, the jurisdiction allowed it. I asked questions like, what makes someone stand out to you? What separates loyalty from compliance? What do you think about emotional intelligence at work? And he answered. And I kept everything. I also made a second account, not under my name, not connected to any of my personal info. I started rebuilding the folder he made about me. Screenshot by screenshot, audio by audio. I timestamped each one, backed it up 3 ways, all stored in encrypted drive links protected by 2-factor. Then I made a spreadsheet. Each row had a category: name of employee, mentorship status, development notes found, type of content stored: photos, Slack, video, voice, any references to vulnerability or personal events, behavioral pattern and file. I filled in 5 rows in the first week. Not just me, there was someone else. A designer who left suddenly last year, no farewell lunch, no goodbye post, just gone. She had a folder too, half full, less organized, but one file stood out: a calendar invite labeled "Dinner, Discuss Career Direction," scheduled at 8:30 p.m. offsite. That same week, she submitted her resignation. I kept going. Another folder was named after a male intern. Barely any files inside, just one Slack message about being late, and a weirdly long summary note about energy level, compliance, and non-value fit. It was dated 2 days before the intern was quietly let go. It became clear. He wasn't just observing, he was curating, gatekeeping, profiling people. If he saw use in you, loyalty, dependency, silence, he kept you close, trained you, gathered from you. If he didn't, he labeled you unnecessary. Everything in that office felt earned. Promotions, trust, mentorship. We believed it was based on work. But it wasn't. It was based on his system, his comfort, his control. And no one questioned it because he was charming, helpful, never crossed the wrong lines. I wasn't the first. I probably wouldn't have been the last. So I made a decision. I booked a meeting with HR. Not to report him? Not yet. I asked for a detailed printout of every internal performance review I'd ever received. Claimed I wanted to cross-reference for a graduate school application. They gave it to me. I found phrasing in the reports I'd never heard before. Needs to develop independent strategic thinking. Shows potential but lacks assertiveness. Responds best under close guidance. They weren't about my work. They were about my design. The version of me he wanted to keep. I read them all quietly in my apartment that night, and then I added a new sheet to my spreadsheet. correction plan because I wasn't going to fight him. I was going to delete him, and when I was done, there'd be nothing left of his influence on my life. No trace, no gratitude, not even my name in his files. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, not even the coworkers I trusted, especially not them. The trick wasn't to expose him. It was to make him irrelevant, quietly, permanently. I didn't want to destroy his career. I wanted to erase the idea that he ever shaped mine. So I started with myself. I rewrote my resume, removed every reference to his mentorship, reframed every project as a team collaboration, reworded success stories so they no longer centered around his approval or direction. I deleted old emails that included praise from him, archived Slack messages, scrubbed LinkedIn endorsements. It was like laundering my professional identity, scrubbing it clean of his fingerprints. Then I applied for a new role, lateral move. Same industry, new city. I used contacts he didn't know I had. People I'd worked with briefly, just long enough to matter, but not long enough to be tracked. Within 3 weeks, I had an offer. Better title, more autonomy. No strings. I accepted it on a Friday and gave notice on Monday. He called me into his office with a grin. Asked if I was sure, said he was surprised but proud. Asked where I was going. I told him it was time for something different. He looked me in the eye and said, "They're lucky to have you." I smiled. He still thought he made me. I spent the next 2 weeks deleting everything I could from internal servers. Not illegally, just systematically. I downloaded personal backups, cleared shared folders, unlinked cloud drives. I removed myself from team templates, doc ownerships, project logs. Cleanly, quietly, completely. On my last day, he tried to organize a goodbye lunch. I declined. Said I wanted to keep it simple. I packed my things and walked out with a small box and a folder in my hand. Not a word to anyone. Not a speech. Just a message to HR, thanking them for the opportunity. But before I left, I made one final move. I printed the 2-page document he'd written about me. The one with all the bullet points, all the behavioral analysis, the predictions. I highlighted the last line. Trust me implicitly. Then I dropped it in the anonymous feedback box outside the HR office. I didn't sign it, didn't include any accusations. Just let them read what he wrote in his own words. If they cared, they'd connect the dots. If they didn't, I didn't care anymore. He no longer existed in my story. A few weeks later, I started the new job. The first day felt weird. Unfamiliar systems, new names, nobody knew who I used to be. And I realized I liked it that way. There were no quiet observers here. No unspoken power dynamics, no folders. I was just a person with a role, not a project under surveillance. Months passed. I never looked back. Then one night, I got a message. An unknown number, no name, just a line. "Did you leave something in the feedback box?" I stared at it for a few seconds, then deleted it. I don't know if it was him. I don't care. Because the version of me he studied doesn't exist anymore. I left her behind in a system he can't access. No notes, no patterns, no emotional triggers to catalog. He built a file based on who I was when I needed guidance. He doesn't know who I became when I stopped needing him. And that's the part he'll never be able to predict.